Mayor Duggan's State of the City, the governor's spending plan, and the end of Wayne County's corruption probe. Stay put. My Week starts right now.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta.
Hi there, and welcome to My Week. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christy McDonald. It is the start of the second year in office for Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, and he changed things up a little bit with his second State of the City address on Tuesday night. Instead of gathering in his city building downtown, the mayor delivered his speech in the heart of a Detroit neighborhood at the Old Redford Theater on Lasser Road. Flanked by the City Council, Duggan painted a positive picture of Detroit's future. So coming up, we're going to take a look at how far the city has progressed and talk about the mayor's plans to grow the population. Plus, Governor Snyder presents his state budget for the next fiscal year. We'll look at where he wants to increase spending and which areas he wants to cut. And the investigation into corruption in Wayne County has officially come to an end. What does that mean for Robert Ficano? It is all coming up for you on My Week. But we do start with Detroit and Mayor Mike Duggan's State of the City address. With the city fresh out of bankruptcy and firmly in his control, the mayor talked about programs and initiatives focused on neighborhoods, from transit to foreclosure concerns, property assessments, and parks. It is all focused on making the city a better place to live.
Detroit is now on the road to recovery.
Passionate and direct, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan focused on neighborhoods and city services during his second State of the City address on Tuesday night. The enthusiastic crowd at the Redford Theater cheered at the prospect of a balanced budget for the first time since 2002, neighborhood lighting ahead of schedule, and a fleet of new buses rolling out.
80 brand new buses. The first 11 just arrived. They're going on the street this week. We'll be adding 10 a week from now through August, and by the middle of this year, for the first time in nearly 20 years in the city, we are going to show up according to the published schedule.
These steps are toward Duggan's ultimate goal of growing the population of the city. He touted the city's land bank and its role in rehabbing neighborhoods, moving in families, and making sure longtime residents who have stuck it out in the city continue to stay.
Yesterday, with the agreement of HUD and a group of foundations, we have a new $8 million loan pool that will be available at 0% interest to make loans to Detroiters to fix up their homes.
The mayor focused on public safety, a high priority in the city's success. Emergency response times are down from 18 to 11 minutes. Crime is a concern, but homicide rates, while still high, are down. Duggan credits officers who are building relationships with the community.
We're going to put 200 more police officers on the street and get them in the cars and responding. We're also doing it with agreements with the Detroit Police Officers Association to take police officers out of jobs behind desks where they were dispatching cars or watching the fleet or doing payroll and putting them onto the street.
The mayor announced some new initiatives, an app called Improve Detroit, where residents can log complaints about lighting or other services. Also, Motor City Match, $500,000 awarded quarterly for the next 5 years to entrepreneurs in the city. And Duggan isn't giving up on tackling the problem of inflated car insurance.
It is unbelievable. Detroiters are paying twice as much as suburbanites. And we're going to have a plan in the first half of this year that's going to be actuarially sound. And when we have it, I can promise you I am going to fight every single day until we finally fix this injustice and give people in this town a fair rate for their cars.
And the mayor used the phrase economic inclusion to make sure Detroiters can succeed with job training and affordable housing. Things you didn't hear in those speeches, any plans for getting involved with education or touting downtown achievements. There is a lot to get to, so let's get started with our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson from the Detroit Free Press. Gentlemen, it's good to see you.
It's good to be here.
Happy MiWeek Thursday. Obviously something is missing here at this table.
I don't know what you're talking about, Christy.
We have to let you in on the joke a little bit. We're making fun of Stephen just a little bit because he forgot his jacket.
Well, it's not that I forgot the jacket. I just thought I was coming to a radio show, and not television.
All of a sudden,
So-
you're starting to confuse the various media jobs that you're doing. So, in solidarity, Nolan had an idea because Nolan hatches interesting ideas from time to time.
That's right. We just all kind of do it in our shirt sleeves this week.
So we all have to take our
We do.
over jackets
We
off.
do. Now, if he comes in his pajamas next week,
We're not wearing pajama pants.
that's where
Is
we
that
go.
it?
Really work.
Is that? Do you feel
This
more
is how
comfortable now?
This is how I am in the office. This is how I write my columns. This is how I edit the paper.
So this is
It's the appropriate attire.
this is Stephen Unplugged now, or we're just.
It's just Stephen at work.
All right. Well, let's get to work a little bit here, and let's talk about the State of the City address. Nolan, I'm going to start with you. What did you hear that you liked from Mike Duggan this week?
there seemed to be two focuses to the speech, and I thought the location of the speech was very significant, very symbolic, having it out in the neighborhoods for the first time, out in the Redford Theater. The focus was all on neighborhoods. He hardly mentioned the things that are happening downtown. I mean, the message was clear that downtown's got momentum. It's going to take care of itself. We really need to get a handle on these neighborhoods. And then he also talked about making sure Detroiters participate in this comeback by getting them ready to take the jobs that are coming to Detroit. I mean, there's no point bringing thousands of jobs to Detroit if Detroiters aren't ready to take them, if we're having to bring in workers from elsewhere to take these jobs. We need to get the people who live here ready to participate in this recovery.
This wasn't a flowery speech, Stephen. It was passionate. It was pretty straightforward. If you live in a neighborhood in Detroit, are you happy? Are you pleased? Was what Mike Duggan said on Tuesday night enough for you to say, you know what, I'm going to recommit to this city?
No, I don't think it's enough to say you're going to stay, for instance. I mean, you still have an awful lot of people living in neighborhoods, I think, who are just on the brink, who are one or two paychecks away from saying, you know what, I've got enough money now to move to Warren or East Point or some other suburb. I do think you wanted to hear the mayor talk about your neighborhood, though, and he did. He talked about very concrete, specific things that he's going to do to try to make neighborhoods better. He concentrated a lot on blight, explained how the blight thing is going. He talked about the worker training. He talked about lots of different things that should affect the neighborhoods. The problem is, of course, he can't claim victory on any of them yet, and all of the things that he's tried have hit the sort of familiar snags that we have in Detroit. I think the difference is this is a much more tenacious mayor who's much more focused on the specifics of outcomes and results, and he's trying to, solve the problems that come
But
up.
he may not be able to declare victory for a long time to come. These are really tough problems
Sure.
to solve, and they're going to take, progress is going to be very incremental, and it's going to take a long time. I think his mission was to convince people that we're headed in the right direction. So if somebody is sitting on the bubble there, do I stay or do I go? He's got to make them believe that things are going to get better.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to sit here and we're going to study, or we know the problem is grave and we're going to slowly move in. It feels like that he's saying, well, look, we're just going to start to do this, and we may not have the results or the numbers right now, but there is a forward momentum here. I liked how he talked about transportation and the buses. We're going to get the buses on time for the first time in 20 years, which is amazing.
A low bar.
When you think, it's a low bar, that's what should be happening
Nobody's been
already.
able to do it, and that's a pretty bold promise given the history of this bus system, that we're going to service every route and service it on time by midsummer. That'll make a difference. It'll make a difference for people trying to get to work. It'll also make a difference for school children who face just unconscionable rides to get to school. But he also mentioned that he's going to hopefully open up, let SMART start coming back in, so we get a more integrated bus system, something I think we talked about last week that is a real hindrance to this area.
Yeah.
What about that app that now people can interact with City Hall a little bit easier and get their complaints, and then an email system is going to make sure that it gets to the powers that be and gets back to you? Does that move the needle for people in terms of saying, you know what, the city's finally listening to me, or I can get somewhere with the city?
Well, I think it does. I mean, other cities have had these kinds of apps for years, and I think more than anything, they do make people feel like somebody is there, right? If something's wrong, there's somebody I can contact directly. Of course, the fear is of overpromising, right? If I send a note that my streetlight is out, how quickly is somebody really going to be able to respond and get it back on? And if they don't, then do I feel like, well, the app doesn't work, or this was all sort of a scam? You also have the question in the city of internet access, right? It's not ubiquitous the way it is in other communities. That's starting to change with cell phones, and I assume that you'll be able to use your internet access through that. But it's not a big picture solution, but it's one of those little bitty things that you do that make people feel better about government response.
I mean, here's what he's up against. The report out earlier this week, housing values all over Metro Detroit were up and up significantly, still down 10% in the city. That tells you there's still more housing stock than there is demand for it, and people are still, even more people going out than coming in. That's what he's got to turn around.
Yeah,
and he's talking about the tax assessments as well on properties, and also he touched on the large issue, the huge problem of foreclosures that we're now seeing that's going to be happening this year.
Well, I mean, it happens every year right now. Wayne County, which collects the taxes on behalf of the city of Detroit, when you get too far behind, they come and they take the house. The numbers every year are growing, tens of thousands of houses that they're ready to take over. And of course, this is driving down property values. It's driving people out of the city. It feeds into all the problems that he has. One number that I didn't hear the mayor talk about the other night, but that he's talked about before, is the low number of mortgages that get written in the city of Detroit, so that which helps put in perspective some of the euphoria we have about people moving back and people selling houses. These are cash sales for the most part. There's only 375 mortgages written in the whole city in 2014. The foreclosure.
That's an interesting number.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3,200 sales, 375 mortgages. The foreclosure problem is feeding that difficulty with values, which is preventing people from being able to get mortgages.
These are primarily now tax foreclosures, and as he rationalizes the tax assessments, I think that number is going to slow down. But in the meantime, the mayor and the county have to work together, have to be very aggressive about figuring out how to keep these people in their homes. Repayment plans, reductions of unreasonable tax bills. Figure out a way. The last thing you want to do is throw more residents out of the city who want to stay. They got to figure out a way to work out that debt and keep people in their houses.
Yeah, and the state legislature did help a little bit with lessening the penalty, and the mayor did reference the fact that it's about 6,500 families had already worked out some kind of payment plan with Wayne County.
But the sticking point there is, do they stick to the plan? Are they able
to
stick
stay
to that plan? We do get a lot of people into those plans, and then it falls apart, and then they end up back on the list.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this discussion, I wanted to touch upon public safety, because the mayor did talk about that, about the relationship he has with James Craig, the fact that community policing has made a difference in these neighborhoods, the fact that the numbers are still high but slowly coming down. Is there a perception in the city that the city is safer, Nolan?
Well, I don't know what the perception is. I think they've done a lot of things to create that perception, but public safety is still the major obstacle, along with schools. He talked a little about schools, but he reaffirmed that he doesn't want that thing on his plate. Public safety is on his plate. Still 300 murders last year in the city. That's way too many for a city this size. I mean, any number is too many, but that's just outrageous. And still too many children being shot. Too many little kids getting killed in the city. It remains the most dangerous city in America for children. He did talk about a prenatal plan, which is very important, because prematurity and infant problems are higher here than they are anywhere in the country, and it's something we've got to take seriously.
Last word.
Yeah, I mean, this is again about getting middle-class families back into the city. That is one of the things that lowers crime. When neighborhoods are stable and expectations are high, the criminals don't commit the crimes that they're used to getting away with right now, and so it all feeds into the same issues.
It all feeds in the same issues, but I'm going to also argue that those middle-class families are not going to come back in if you don't have a stable, if you feel safe and they have a stable education system that they can count on as well. And that is going to be the next big story here as we continue to talk about Detroit. All right, moving on to the state level, Governor Snyder proposed a $54 billion budget yesterday for the upcoming fiscal year. His plan calls for a spending increase of roughly 2% and about $300 million in cuts. The majority of the budget will be spent on education and health and human services. Some highlights of the governor's proposal include $83 million for skilled trades training, more than $12 million for public safety, including the training of 75 new state police troopers who will be deployed to high-crime cities, Flint, Saginaw, including Detroit, plus increased funding for higher education in K-12 schools, especially third-grade reading initiatives.
We've got a whole series of recommendations. We looked at best practices across the country. One of the things we'd like to do is create an outside commission to continue to look at best practices across the country. Let's do some of those best practices right here in Michigan on how to achieve third-grade reading. But it would involve things such as home visits, more parental involvement, more diagnostic testing, more teacher training, more instructional hours and resources, and then measuring success in terms of assessments both in kindergarten and third grade. So there's a whole series of programs that total $25 million. I look forward to your review, your consideration, and partnership on putting something in place. This is one of those great things that it's a long-term investment, but there isn't a better long-term investment we can make.
The governor also made a move to deal with the state's current budget shortfall of $325 million. He issued an executive order slashing state spending by $103 million. So we really have two things moving here. And I know, Nolan, that you love talking about budgets. Budgets and numbers. I saw you glaze over when we said we're going to talk about the budget. But this is important stuff because it really it sets up where the spending is going to be. And a lot of people were looking at education. And would the governor start to restore some of the funding that he has initially cut in years past? And a little bump for K-12, 2%, and a little bump for higher education.
Well, it's $400 million more for education in this budget. But if you look at what will happen if Proposal 1 passes on May 5th, that's another $300 million for education. So you could see education spending going up by $700 million this year, and it'll be interesting to see, which is a huge bump, and it'll be interesting to see whether that makes any sort of difference in the classroom or to the financial health of these districts. They, their problems, their money problems have defied increases before in spending. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do. That's a great influx of money.
But as we know, we can't really count on what may or may not happen in May. But will education proponents be very happy with this, Stephen?
I think, well, I mean, never.
They're like farmers. They're never happy.
They're happy with.
Wait, farmers are never happy?
Never happy.
It's not enough. I mean, when you talk about the money that we need for education in this state, this is a start. But as usual, it's not enough. I mean, we have disinvested so completely in education, not just K-12, but also higher ed in this state, and we're still playing catch up. I mean, I think the governor's doing what is probably fiscally responsible here. You can't make it all up in 1 year. You can't go back instantly to what we should be doing, but it is not enough, and there are serious problems inside the way we fund the infrastructure we use to fund schools that still needs to be addressed.
I don't think it'll ever be enough. And education spending's up $1.2 billion since 2011. So yeah, there was at one point small cut in education spending, but every year since then it's been steadily up well above the rate of inflation, and yet the schools and universities cannot, it never seems to fill their hole.
One thing interesting that I'm going to be watching for is this about $50 million that they want to put into a third grade reading initiative, which I think will be interesting to see what comes out of that. What do you make of the $83 million for skilled trades training? And that came directly out of what he spoke about at his State of the State address.
We need that. We have too many jobs going unfilled in this state for lack of workers. Michigan has really some nation-leading skilled training programs, job training programs in connection with their community college. All over the country, job training money is being squandered, being used and not creating jobs. Here, we're actually training workers for jobs that exist. And I think that's the key difference. And if this money continues that pattern, it'll pay off long term.
Now, Stephen, we have some holes to plug here. A lot of the tax credits that the state is now paying out. And the governor wants to put $95 million in the rainy day fund, which would put it over $600 million. Would you argue that point with him and say maybe this isn't the year that we add on to that and we kind of help shift the shells in different places?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that the rainy day fund is the thing I wouldn't put money into. I mean, you get taught early that when you get paid, the first thing you do is pay yourself, right? You put some money away for contingencies. And I think he's been really responsible about that, much more responsible than John Engler, who burned through the fund, and even Jennifer Granholm, who didn't do what she could have to build it back up.
Meaning nothing.
Well, okay, well, she didn't create the problem. What I would say is that there are other ways that we ought to be looking at tweaking the tax system to fill some of these holes. The governor gave away a lot of credits, or a lot of tax breaks to businesses, and didn't account for the lingering effect of these tax credits, which are not part of his plan, which are old policy, but still sort of a hangover from that. I don't know that it was responsible to give as big of a tax break as he did while these tax credits were out there. I think there are other ways that you can sort of tweak the system to get more money to fill those holes, at least in the short term, and probably not hurt business very much.
But it's working. I mean, those policies are working. We're creating jobs.
Not as much as other states, not even at the close to the pace.
And we went a long time when the rest of the nation was growing and we were declining. This is a huge turnaround for Michigan. I mean, he is thinking long term. And you ask about the rainy day fund. Well, you beef up your rainy day fund, your bond rating goes up, and your borrowing costs go down. You actually save money by investing in the rainy day fund. He also put a lot of money into the retirement system, particularly the teachers' retirement system, to try to bring that up to full funding, so we don't run into serious problems like Wayne County, Detroit, 15, 20 years up the road. That's a very responsible thing to do.
All right. Well, we'll be watching the activity in Lansing as they start to look at this budget and fine tune it. Turning now to Wayne County, the federal investigation into government corruption has ended. Although a key aide to Robert Ficano was convicted, the former Wayne County executive was never charged. Ficano says his record and his, quote, good name have been cleared, but the collateral damage remains. Ficano lost his reelection bid. The failed jail project cost millions, and the county could run out of money by next year. So this came out this week, that Bob Ficano was cleared. What was the first thing that crossed your mind, Nolan?
Well, it's an outrageous statement for him to say that his record's been vindicated, his name's been cleared. You look at the things you mentioned. This is a guy who took over a county that had a pension system 95% funded. It's 44% funded today and is a major cause of the county's financial problems. He gave away sweetheart pension deals to his cronies. He let one of his top aides, 41-year-old, 8 years on the job, go off and retire. Will draw over $100,000 in pensions out of that, or pension benefits out of that system for the rest of his life. He was outrageously reckless and just a terrible manager. Jail, the Guardian, rehabilitation that went $35 million over. The airport race course, the horse racing course, $35 million wasted. It's just an abysmal record that now somebody else has to straighten out.
Well, I mean, I think his point, I'm not going to sit here and defend Ficano's record as county executive. I think his point, though, is his good name, quote unquote, is not in jeopardy. In other words, that he's not a crook, and he's not going to be prosecuted as such, and he's entitled to that. I mean, anybody is entitled, of course, to the presumption of innocence unless something else is proven. There was no proof here that he did anything.
He defended his record, Steve.
He's trying to defend his record, and I don't agree with that. I mean, the meeting we had with Warren Evans last week reminded me absolutely of the meeting that we had 2.5 or 3 years ago with Dave Bing about the city's finances and where they were headed. Some of the same language was being used about not being able to make payroll, underfunded pensions, and healthcare liabilities. I mean, it's exactly the same picture, and Ficano is responsible for the depth of those problems.
So Warren Evans has finally gotten to the bottom of the hole. What he was talking about with us a couple of weeks ago, and he said we finally got about $70 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem for the county, and we've talked about it. But the question arose when this probe started, when this federal probe started, was Bob Ficano a crook or incompetent? And I think now we have the answer to that question. It was, there was no good choice, but at least now we know the answer.
All right, and we'll have to leave it there. So, do you think, Nolan, next week you bring a spare jacket for Stephen to be able to?
I'm feeling nice and free here.
I think he's feeling relaxed.
I'm going to wear this every week.
Yeah, you're going to come in the T-shirt next week, right? You're just going to
I may have a nice blue blazer in my closet.
There's something very workmanlike and blue collar about losing the jacket.
So start rolling up the sleeves.
That's
I want to
right,
see.
my
All right,
sleeves
start
will
rolling
be
up the
rolled
sleeves
up,
while we start rolling the credits, and that's going to do it for My Week. Thanks so much for joining us. We will continue our conversation online right after the show, so make sure you go to myweek.org for an extra segment that you won't see on TV. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter during the week, so make sure you connect with us there. I'm Christy McDonald. For all of us at Detroit Public TV, we will see you next week. Take care.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta,